Week 2 of the NFL season is just about in the books. I've currently got 13 running backs that have finished inside of the top 24. I have a chance at 16 finishing inside of the top 24 at 66%, a little bit down from last week's 71%, but we're here to continue to learn and get better. It's got big names that have bounced back, like Kenneth Walker this week. It's been the week of scrubs like Ramondre Stevenson, Tyler Algier, Bashal Tootin, Cam Scadaboo, Blake Corum, all sitting within the top 24. Tons to break down, tons to talk about. Let's start looking towards the next week in week 3 and go through my top 24 here on the Face Off Sports Network. Getting straight to it, the tier 1 guys are going to be staples as we move through this season. So don't be shocked that these names are going to keep repeating. And we're going to start with guys like Bijan Robinson being first, followed by Christian McCaffrey, Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley, Jahmyr Gibbs, and welcome in James Cook, who finishes in tier 1 for me for the first time this season. Now, looking at this week, Bijan Robinson gets to take on the Carolina Panthers at 1 o'clock on Sunday. He's looked absolutely fantastic so far this season. 19.8 points this past week, 22 carries for 143 yards. The matchup isn't perfect, but the Panthers have looked frankly terrible. So if it becomes a blowout like it's been so far, they should run the ball, and Bijan is going to continue to be a guy that has elite upside. He's been involved in the passing game, looks absolutely great. Can't emphasize enough that I think he's got a real shot to be the RB1 on the year. Now looking at RB2 for me, Christian McCaffrey taking on the Arizona Cardinals. Not the best matchup on 425 this coming Sunday. He will be the offense. And I've said that a couple times. Brock Purdy being out, I think this team is going to lean on Christian McCaffrey. Coming off a week with 22.7 points, 13 carries for 55 yards, 6 receptions, 52 yards, added a touchdown. He's been absolutely fantastic this year. He's going to continue to be a really steady force as we move through the season. Now, my RB3, Derrick Henry, gets to take on the Detroit Lions, who have frankly been killed on the ground all season. Now, that being said, Derrick Henry coming off a very weird game, 11 for 23 on the ground, did not score. Don't stress. Derrick Henry is going to continue to be King Henry. That game was kind of weird. They had that goal line opportunity where they threw it 3 or 4 times and did not give Derrick Henry an opportunity to run the ball in. I don't think that's going to happen again. The game also got out of hand a little bit, so I think he's going to be fine going forward. He stays within my first tier. He's one of those guys where it just takes one play for him to absolutely punish your team. Now, RB4 is going to be Saquon Barkley. Very difficult matchup, taking on the Los Angeles Rams, who have looked really, really stout Sunday on 1 o'clock. Need I say more? I mean, 25 carries for 88 yards and a touchdown, added 2 catches for 6 yards, 17.4 points on the week. He's just so freaking good, it does not matter. He's going to continue to be very involved. He's kind of getting a little bit more of a break in these games, coming off the field. They're running some of the other guys, and I think that's going to continue to happen. But that being said, when they need to really run the ball, they're going to lean on Saquon Barkley. This offensive line is so good. While the matchup is difficult, he's going to be fine going forward. Now, my RB5, Jahmyr Gibbs, taking on Baltimore, like I said a few seconds ago, 19.4 points this past week. The Lions are back. He had 12 carries for 94 yards, added 3 catches for 10 yards. And the important thing for me here is that the Baltimore Ravens have given up the 6th most fantasy points to the running back position. So I think Jahmyr and this offensive line are going to feast. Now, it was nice to see them absolutely rout Ben Johnson and the Bears just to kind of get some confidence in this offense going forward. He could have had an even better day had he had some goal line opportunity. Yes, Monty got his work too. We'll talk more about that later. But I think he's going to be fine going forward. He's one of those guys where he's going to be fantastic, and it just takes one play for him as well. He's involved in both the passing and the run game. He's so explosive. He just is dynamic with the ball in his hands. Love his opportunity this week. Now, James Cook making his first appearance in Tier 1 for me, taking on the Miami Dolphins, who allow the 4th most fantasy points to the running back position. So we are super hyped for that. I mean, 21 carries for 132 yards and 2 touchdowns this past week, 26.5 fantasy points. I mean, why worry about the TD regression? We've all talked about it all offseason. Can he reproduce it? He gets the contract, and well, he is well on his way to absolutely do it again and continue to be a huge playmaker for this Bills offense, who absolutely steamrolled the Jets. And I think that's important going forward. I mean, we know we can trust James Cook with the ball in his hand. The question was, is he going to be sharked at the goal line by Josh Allen? But he continues to make these big plays, and that's what we want to see from him. Now, getting into my tier 2 here, let's start with Devon Achane, Bucky Irving, Josh Jacobs, Chase Brown, Jonathan Taylor, and James Conner. Now, this is a group that I think has so much upside. Now, starting with Devon Achane, who takes on Buffalo on Thursday night, he is the offense. I've said it several times. He is absolutely the only Dolphin that I feel comfortable starting. He had 26.2 points this past week, 11 for 30 on the ground. Absolutely is inefficient. But at the same time, 8 catches for 92 yards and a touchdown. The workload is massive for him. And if the Bills play like they did this past week, he's going to be in a great game script for him to continue to be a vital part of this receiving game in Miami. So he is absolutely someone that I am super, super happy to have on my roster. He's going to continue to feast in PPR leagues. So play him and be super excited you have him. Now, my RB8 on the week, Bucky Irving. You guys know he's one of my favorite players in the entire league. 18.8 points tonight on Monday Night Football. He looked fantastic, guys. 17 carries for 71 yards, added 6 catches for 50 yards. So involved. Gets to take on the New York Jets this week. The Jets aren't very good, frankly, and that offense is in disarray. Maybe this game gets ugly. 7th most points allowed to the running back position. So I like his opportunity this week. I think he's going to be a very good player. You know, Bucky's just so good. Yes, Rachaad White got some opportunities. It was more like that 50-50 share towards the beginning of the game. Bucky dominated that second half, and I think it's just going to continue to be that way as we move forward. And if it does get ugly, we all know Bucky's the more proficient and efficient running back. Rachaad White, he's going to get opportunity, but he's been notoriously an inefficient running back with the ball in his hands. Now, on to our next player, Josh Jacobs, taking on the Cleveland Browns at 1 o'clock on Sunday. 14.4 points this past week, 23 carries for 84 yards and a touchdown. He is just so steady, man. I mean, he is the best floor you could absolutely ask for. He's going to be involved. This Packers offense just continues to get better. They dismantled the Washington Commanders this past week. I think the game script kind of took Josh Jacobs a little bit out of it. The game got weird with some missed field goals, missed opportunities from both teams, frankly. But Jacobs, I think, is going to be fine this week, and he lands comfortably here in my tier 2. Now, Chase Brown is the next back here, taking on Minnesota. The matchup is frankly terrible, and this could go one of two ways. I mean, the ceiling might be lower given the fact that Joe Burrow is going to be out for at least 3 months, but it also could be great given the fact that he could be a check down monster for Jake Browning, and maybe he turns into something that's going to get a ton of receiving work. Now, this past week, 16 carries for 47 yards, not that efficient. It's been a concern of mine, but he did have 2 catches for 18 yards, 8.5 points on the week. Didn't kill you, didn't necessarily help you win the week, but he's one of those guys that's going to have a great floor with a decently high ceiling, but I do think that the Joe Burrow injury is at least going to cap that ceiling as we move forward. Now, the next running back for me is Jonathan Taylor, and you could argue he should be higher than Chase Brown, but I just like the opportunity for that game to be a little bit closer and Chase Brown to be involved more. But Jonathan Taylor, fantastic week, 29.5 points, had 25 carries for 165 yards, 2 catches for 50 yards and a touchdown. This offense is rolling. They haven't even punted yet. The matchup, also great. Tennessee's not very good against the run, so I expect Jonathan Taylor to continue to do what he has done thus far, and he's going to be a great play. At RB12 for me is going to be James Conner. This is a name that I'm really struggling with what to do, but I do think he has an opportunity to be well. Given the fact he's taking on San Francisco 49ers this week, coming off a week where he had 12.2 points, not very efficient on the ground. 11 carries for 34 yards, 1 catch for 18 yards. The game got weird. It kind of got away from him. Carolina kind of got back into the game, but it's worth noting that James Conner continues to have the goal line work. They continue to work Trey Benson in, but he hasn't done that much at the goal line, so I like the James Conner opportunity to get a 2-touchdown game. Maybe that happens this week. You just need him to fall in the end zone. He's a guy that's just a fringe RB1 for me. I didn't want to put him in that next tier just because I think he's got so much potential, but I could absolutely see him slipping down as we get some more information moving through the week. But let's jump to my tier 3, which is going to have some fun names. I think there's a lot to look here for guys to jump into that next tier and kind of start working towards that next role. And we're going to start with Travis Etienne, Ashton Genty, Alvin Kamara, Breece Hall, Kyren Williams, and welcome in Kenneth Walker. So, starting with Travis Etienne taking on the Houston Texans, had 16.9 points with 14 carries for 71 yards, had 2 catches for 18 yards and a touchdown. It's not the best matchup taking on Houston, but at the same time, he's played well, and we can't deny that. And, this Jacksonville offense, while it might be sputtering at times, they are enough of a fantasy factory where they produce fantasy points. And I think that Liam Cohen has kind of found something to revitalize Travis Etienne. Obviously, they move on from Tank Bigsby. It's worth noting that Bashal Tutin and LaQuint Allen continue to be worked in, but Travis Etienne is going to be the highlight of this offense, kind of in that Bucky Irving role. Moving on to RB14, Ashton Genty. I don't have complete stats because the game is happening right now as I'm recording this, but thus far he's looked okay. I think he's looked the part. It's been very similar to what I expected, a little slower start. The draft cost for him was really, really high. The matchup against Washington this upcoming week, not great, but I think that he's looked okay enough. He's going to continue to be involved enough that if he falls in the end zone, he's going to be just fine for your fantasy lineup. Now, RB15 for me, Alvin Kamara. This is just one of those guys where when he plays, you got to put him on your roster just because he's so dang good. 16 points this past week, 21 carries for 99 yards, added 6 catches for 21 yards. The offense is not that great, so frankly, it's a little bit risky at times, but the matchup is interesting. Taking on Seattle this week, who allows the 5th most points to the running back position, I'm interested. And again, given the fact of the receiving floor for Alvin Kamara, he's got a great opportunity to produce double-digit fantasy points, chase that 20-point game if he gets in the end zone for your fantasy lineups. Now, my next running back is going to be Breece Hall, and woof, man, the game was terrible in all regards. Taking on Tampa Bay this upcoming week, I think he can bounce back. Only 5.8 points this past week, 10 carries for 29 yards, had 2 catches for 9 yards. This team was absolutely killed. Now, if Justin Fields misses time, he got injured during the game, kind of derailed everything for this team. They couldn't stop the Buffalo Bills. They couldn't stop a nosebleed if they wanted to. Now, that being said, Tyrod Taylor might be an opportunity for Breece Hall to get a little bit more involved, both in the run game and the receiving game. If he can get some dump-offs from Tyrod, maybe he stays in that receiving workload. I like him going forward. He's going to be fine. He's still a very good player. The Bills are just, frankly, the better team. Now, my next running back, Kyren Williams. This is an interesting one. He's had a lower snap share than normal. I think part of that is due to the script of the game this past week, taking on the Titans. They were torching them through the air. The run game was okay, 17 carries for 66 yards, only 10 points. He's got a really tough matchup this upcoming week, taking on the Philadelphia Eagles, but I absolutely love that game. I cannot wait to watch it. 2 clash Titans that we're going to get to see really go at it. Great coaches. Great run games, great offenses, solid defenses. There's a lot to watch in this game, and I think it's going to be really telling to see what Kyren Williams' workload is. But I do have to say, a lot of my concerns with Kyren Williams are popping up. The big play has been an issue for him. And here we are, where, several years past Todd Gurley, Puka Nacua had a 45-yard rushing touchdown this past weekend, and that's the longest rushing play for the Rams since Todd Gurley. And I think that's an issue, the fact that Kyren Williams hasn't been that big play guy. He's absolutely going to be 3 yards in a cloud of dust. He's going to get touchdowns at the goal line. He's going to get you 10, 15-yard runs, but he's not going to be a guy that's going to get you the 40, 50-yard play. Now, maybe he does that this week because I've talked about it, and I hope, because I want to see him do it. But to this point, he just frankly hasn't done it. And I think that's kind of holding this offense back just a little bit. But his workload, his floor are just fine, so don't fret too much there. Now, closing out tier 3 for me, welcome in Kenneth Walker. 18.8 points, 13 carries for 105 yards and a touchdown, added 1 catch for 13 yards. Oh my gosh, it was so nice to see. I think we all overreacted to this offense, overreacted to the running back room. It was a bad week for him. Yes, it's going to happen. But at the same time, let's look at the matchup going forward. Taking on the New Orleans Saints this week, who give up the 9th most points to the running back position. Now, Sharbs was again not involved in the pass game. Week 1 and week 2, 0 targets registered for Zach Charbonnet. Walker has gotten targets in each of those games. So I think that's worth noting that he has some opportunity there for him too. And I like Kenneth Walker going forward, and I think he's going to be a solid play. That backfield's going to continue to be murky, but note that Kenneth Walker is that guy that can be the big playmaker. I've said it a couple times. He had the 8th most missed tackles this past season, and he still missed 5 or 6 games. So I like Kenneth Walker. I think he's going to be a great player. Just know at times he might be a little bit capped just based on the fact that Charbonnet is going to continue to be involved. Now let's get to my tier 4, where I'm going to have Javonte Williams. Welcome in. First appearance on this show. Added after that, Chuba Hubbard, Jaylen Warren, David Montgomery, Tony Pollard, and welcome in DeAndre Swift. Now, I want to say that before recording this and right before halftime, I had Amari Hampton in here. He has not looked great. I moved him out, bumped DeAndre Swift in, so maybe that changes going forward, but I have not been impressed there. But let's get to Javonte taking on the Chicago Bears at 425 this Sunday. There's no other word to say than wow. He's been really good with the opportunities had. 70+% of the snaps each week. The second best matchup you could ask for taking on the Bears. He had 25 points, 18 carries for 97 yards and a touchdown, added 6 receptions for 33 yards. He has just been fantastic. The floor is continuing to rise. I mean, the opportunity for him has been great. This offense has looked better. I think Javonte is going to be one of those guys that starts to find a home in tier 3, tier 4 as we move forward and is a safe RB2 for your team. Now, Chuba Hubbard at RB20, 18.7 points this past week, 10 carries for 38 yards. Not the best, but added 5 receptions for 39 yards and a touchdown. Again, another player that's got a high floor. This is his backfield. He will be the run game for this team. It's a tough matchup taking on Atlanta. This defense has played much better than I think a lot of people expected, including myself, but we shouldn't fear. Chuba Hubbard got paid. He's the running back for this team, and he's going to continue to get an opportunity. Now, my next guy, Jaylen Warren, taking on the New England Patriots. Not a great matchup, 14th against the run and running backs, but no threat from the rookie. Caleb Johnson has played very, very poor. Only 2 carries, 1 in each game so far, and it's amounted to literally nothing. Not to mention the special teams mishap where he completely gave up on a kickoff and the other team scored a touchdown. So Jaylen Warren is going to be the guy. Kenny Gainwell is going to continue to get an opportunity, but this team trusts Jaylen Warren, and they should. He's looked really, really good so far. I mean, 17.4 points this past week, 14 carries for 48 yards, added 4 catches for 86 yards. He's just so involved. He's trusted by Rodgers. He's trusted by the offense. He's going to continue to be a guy that finds his way being an RB2 as we move forward. Maybe Caleb Johnson can recover, but as it stands right now, there's no real threat there. Now, RB22, David Montgomery, taking on Baltimore. Like I said, the matchup is pretty good. 6 most points to the running back position. You're praying for the shootout. You're praying for the goal line work. He got the touchdown this week, 11 carries for 57 yards and a touchdown, added a reception, 13.1 points on the week. Again, welcome back to the Lions. They played fantastic. He's got a great floor, limited upside, just given the fact he's playing behind Jahmyr Gibbs. But he's going to be a guy that I think you can play. You could certainly do worse at times if he's your flex or maybe your RB2. Now, Tony Pollard at 23 for me. He's another one of those floor plays. Not the best matchup so far to start the season. Tajay Spears still injured, so this is going to be his backfield. 20 carries for 92 yards this past week. Only 9.2 points. Had a target, didn't come down with a reception. It's a mid matchup taking on the Colts, but at the same time, the floor is great. If he finds his way in the end zone, he shoots up boards and finishes much, much higher. And to close out my tier 4, DeAndre Swift, 14.9 points first. This past week, 12 carries for 63 yards and a touchdown, added 3 catches for 6 yards. The volume is really the most important thing. This team is working in some of the other running backs, but he's looked the best, and frankly, that's not saying very much. I don't think he's been a great player for this team, and it's definitely a hole that the Chicago Bears have. But at the same time, he's the best they got, so he's going to get the opportunity. And if this offense keeps scoring points or gets even a little bit better, he's a guy you should be playing, and he has a chance to be an RB2. I mean, again, double-digit points, you like to see that. Is there a better play out there? Absolutely. Does he have a high ceiling? I don't think so. I think 14 points, 15 points, maybe 18 points might be a ceiling, but for the most part, he's pretty capped moving forward. But that's going to round out my top 24 this week and my final tier. But let's get to some streamers. Let's talk about some options that you can use if you need a spot start. There's certainly some players that you could throw in there. If it's worst case scenario, maybe it's DEFCON 10 and you're a team that was relying on Austin Eckler and you're panicking and you don't know what to do. Let's talk about some names. Let's start with Kareem Hunt. Owned in 39% of the leagues, pretty much readily available, had 8 attempts on the ground this past week, added a reception. Pacheco hasn't looked that great to me, in my opinion. He does have a fantastic matchup taking on the Giants, who have been the worst against the run and running backs. So I think Pacheco is certainly the starter, but Hunt is another guy that they trust and continue to work in. Bachel Tootin, my next guy, 45% rostership. He has been involved, and you need to know he's looked good. Yes, ETN is certainly the guy as we move forward, but Bachel Tootin, with the ball in his hands, has performed and looked okay. So I like what Bachel Tootin has, and his opportunity, I think, will continue to grow. I think he will take away from LaQuint Allen, who has had some reps and had some opportunities. But, at the end of the day, this Liam Cohen offense we have seen use 2 running backs, so I don't think it's crazy to think that Bachel Tootin could have some spike weeks like this past week where he had a touchdown and is currently sitting inside of the top 24 on the week. Now, Tyler Algier, 33% owned. This is more of that premium handcuff. Not necessarily a great play. If he gets in the end zone, you're going to be happy. If he doesn't, he's probably only going to give you 4 or 5 points at the most. He continues to be involved with 15, 16 carries each week. It's worth adding if you have a spot on your roster. Something should happen to Bijan. He's a premium handcuff in a pretty good offense. Hopefully that offense gets a little bit better, a little more efficient, but they're going to hand him the rock. I mean, we see Bijan and him getting tons and tons of opportunity and tons of carries. Now, final one here on the slide, Woody Marks, owned in 14% of the leagues. Played well tonight. I mean, I think he's another one of those guys that has stepped up when given the opportunity. And, Nick Chubb, he deserves some flowers too. He played okay. And I think Nick Chubb's going to continue to have the backfield. But Woody Marks had 5.6 points tonight, 3 attempts for 14 yards, added a catch for 37 yards. Not much opportunity. The game, I don't think, really gave him the opportunity. The game script, I think, should have let him play a little bit more. I'd be interested to see the snap share once those stats come out, so I'll look into that. But I think he's a guy worth adding and keeping on our radar as we move forward. And finally would be Cam Skattebo. He's not on the slide here, but owned in about 45% of leagues, had 5 carries for 23 yards and a touchdown, added a target. It's worth noting he had some goal line opportunity. And if this team finds a way to end up on the goal line a little bit more, maybe he can replace Tyron Tracy, who has had fumbling issues, maybe can't get into that big backfield, that fullback body that Cam Skattebo has at times. Scat, he looked okay. I don't think he looked fantastic or anything, but he looked okay. And if this offense doesn't have deep bomb touchdowns to Malik Neighbors and Wan'Dale Robinson like they did this past week, maybe he gets some more opportunity. But I think those are our streamers this week. So if you need a spot to start, those are the guys I would look at first. Certainly be sure to check out there if Ja'Cory's out there. Maybe Chris Rodriguez is another name that you look at. Jeremy McNichols. We'll have to see what happens with my Washington Commanders this week. But that's going to do it for me. So be sure to like the stream, subscribe to the Face Off Sports Network. We've got all the positional videos coming out, tons of content. Be sure to join the Discord. It's free. You can catch my updated rankings where I'll continue to post them as we get more news and more information about this upcoming week. And we'll catch you in the next one.